Hi, Assalamualaikum. Our group gonna present for the subject design of machine elements BMMD3573 for assignment 1, case study on the machine elements, and our lecturer is Dr. Mastura binti Muhammad Taha. Let me introduce our group member. First, group leader Rashika binti Rusdi, group member Sai Hofung, Sharul Akmal, and Nur Mahira. For the introduction, the conveyor belt is widely used and considered as one of the essential machines in factories. Therefore, it is chosen to carry out this case study. The critical part of the machine is the bearing and the shaft. Since it is required to study one critical part, the bearing is chosen. The part is studied using the FEA simulation in SolidWorks software.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. I'm Rashika binti Rusti and I'm going to present about the machine element of the conveyor belt. Okay, the first machine element is the parallel keys made by carbon steel used to fasten bearing, gear and other parts to rotating shafts. And then the second one is the bearing made by AISI 316 stainless steel and to enable the rotation of the shaft. The third one is the aluminium sheet made by 5052H32 aluminium, and the function is to act as a supportive layer and placed on the conveyor frame. Okay, next is the conveyor belt made by rubber used to move objects from a starting point to an end point with minimal effort, especially in a manufacturing or packaging line. And then the next one is the drive shaft made by AISI 304 stainless steel and used to transmit the rotary motion to the conveyor screw. Next one is the driven shaft, also with the same material. The function is to transmit rotary conveyor belt. Okay, the next one is the spacer guide made with a 5052H32 aluminium to give space between the guide and the frame, and then the tightener with the same material to tighten the house bearing and the frame. And then the guide is with the material of AISI 304 stainless steel is to guide the belt. And then the frame is to protect the body structure and resist the lateral and gravity loads made with the 5052H32 aluminium, and then the gear motor made with the carbon steel to generate rotational movement to drive shaft to move the conveyor belt. And then the house bearing at the driven shaft gear side made with 5052H32 aluminium to transmit the load from the bearing to the frame. And lastly, the house bearing at the drive shaft and then at the driven shaft are made with the same material and same function, which is the 5052H32 aluminium, and the function is to transmit the load from the bearing to the frame.
As we observe, the critical part for the conveyor belt machine is bearing. We decide to use the static simulation to analyze the bearing. So go to the new studies and select the statics and click OK. And first we need to assign the materials for it, which is the stainless steels. So we click on apply the materials to the bodies and select the stainless steels and click apply it and close the windows. And next we need to add the features at the outside of the surface for the bearings. So we click on the features and select the fixed geometries and go to the module and select all the outer surface of the bearings. And we accept all the settings for the features and click OK. And next we apply the logs and we select the force And we apply the force at the inner surface of the bearings. So click on the surface of the bearings and set the force, which is 5 kilonewtons, and click OK. And next we need to create the mesh, and we accept the default settings for the mesh and click OK. Finally, run the simulations and execute the results. From the simulation just now, it interprets the analysis for the bearings, and the image shows the deformations for each simulation results. So from it, we can conclude that the maximum stress for the bearing is 839 megapascals. And next, we also able to know the yield strength of the material is 172 megapascals. And lastly is the maximum strength of the bearing, which is 256 megapascal. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Next part is discussion. The possible failure of the bearing is a lubricant failure, which is commonly occur. The lubricant failure caused by improper lubrication, which will disrupt the bearing. Besides that, the contamination in the bearing can also ruin the bearing, such as the dust, steel chips, and others. To avoid this failure, a proper care and cleaning are needed. Another alternative is to replace the bearing with bushing.
Okay, hi, my name is Rahman bin Ismadi, and now I will talk about the conclusion. Okay, in conclusion, this case study gives the student a more understanding about the machine element and its importance. As a product designer, it is compulsory to know about the machine element and its function. Okay, that's all from our group. Thank you for watching.